Everybody, Dustin here from Backcountry Cuisine, and today we're talking about dough. No, dough, like flour dough, not money. Okay, so I want to have one video where I just talk about just making dough, because the amount of water that you use makes a huge difference in the way the product turns out and what you can do with it. So what I have in these 3 bags are exactly the same thing. Half a cup of flour and 1 teaspoon of baking powder. That's it. That's all I got in here. I didn't even put salt in here. But I want to show you the different consistencies that are possible. So let's take a look at the runniest of the batter. So this is basically, you're putting in more water and you're creating a dough that is not sticky. It is runny like a pancake. And I am not one for measuring. I measure the dry ingredients, but I rarely ever measure wet ingredients. This is what I would call cake batter consistency. So it easily comes off the spoon, right? Just easily drops off the spoon, but isn't pouring off the spoon, right? So when it gets into the pan, it'll spread out slowly, but it tends to be a little bit thicker. So if you want to make something like a cake, coffee cake or muffin, something like that, you're going to put a lot more sugar in here to make it sweet. I guess you could do a savory cake too. And you're going to then bake that up. And this is actually even starting to absorb some of that water, but you can tell it's pretty runny. I would probably have a little bit more water in there. That may even be too much. There's only half a cup of flour. You don't need much water, that's for sure. Yeah, see what I did is I just made pancake batter, which is fine, because that's what I'm going to cook up first. Here we have pancake batter, which much runnier. Pancake batter you want to spread out and get nice and thin. You don't want it to stay thick. And so this is going to make up some pancakes. Let's make some pancakes. As always, anytime I'm baking something delicate, I will use some sort of, this is the bottom of a coffee can, and so it just gives a little bit of space. It gives a little bit more metal for the heat to have to come through, slows down the cooking on the. All right, let's make some pancakes.
Oh yeah, look at those. So nice. Starting to bubble a little bit. You can see a little bit of steam coming off the edges. You're doing great. I might even turn down the heat a little bit.
So I can see they're just starting to dry out around the edge, which means I can flip them now. I'm gonna start flipping. Oh, see, I didn't actually let it cook long enough, so I'm gonna let it go a little bit more for these others. Not quite golden on the bottom. Probably cook a little better. Oh, see, that was a bad flip. There we go. Yeah. All right, so while that last one cooks up, now I'm gonna make biscuits. And biscuits use a lot less water. And you want your biscuits to be sticky. Now, if I was really making biscuits, I would put in some butter in here, maybe a little cheese or a little bacon, something like that, to really get it yummy, tasty. Obviously some salt. But with biscuit dough, you want it sticky. I'm getting dough here. I'm just adding little splashes at a time, because if you put too much in, it only takes a little bit, like a tablespoon too much, and you don't have biscuit dough, you have pancake batter or cake batter. Very different consistency. Like, it's wet, right? I mean, you can see it is really wet in there, but it doesn't like to fall off the spoon. It's sticky. So that's a good biscuit dough right there. Something that's nice and sticky, will fall off, but doesn't want to. Now with biscuits, cook them like you did pancakes. You're gonna put little drops of them in there, but they won't run, they won't spread out, they're gonna stay put. And then I wanna cover these. I wanna keep that heat in there. We'll cook that a little slower. Oh, I do wanna put my reflector on now, because I wanna slow down the heat. I want to slow that heat down from the bottom so there's more heat that's going to be up on the top, cooking it from all directions. Now the last one I'm going to do is a dough. And For dough, you're going to use a really small amount of water. And this time, I do want to keep it inside of this bag. Knead it and roll it out if I wanted to. So I'm going to just put little bits of water in here. Zip this up and start mixing. If you're gonna make a dough like this, I strongly recommend that you bring some extra flour with you, because it's so easy to put just a little too much water in it, and you want to have that ability to get some flour back in there. And so, it's not essential, you can always get by with it, but I do recommend it. Let's take a look at these. Smell them now. Okay, now that I can smell them, let's take this off. Let's see how they're doing in here. They're not. They're cooking nice and slow. I've got the heat down really low, which is good. That's what you want. Turn the heat up a little bit though. Put those back in. The dough is starting to separate from the side of the bag a little bit. So yeah, see, I may even put too much water in here because it's a little bit sticky. The flour will keep absorbing the water. Okay, so the next thing I do, when I'm ready, I'll tear open the side of the bag here and create myself a little work surface. Obviously, I'm not using this plastic bag again. And now I can get in here and really start the kneading process. And yep, you're gonna get a lot of dough on your fingers, and that's okay. What you're trying to do is pick up all of that extra semi-dry flour at the bottom there and knead this up. Now I'm just going to start working it, kneading it together, making sure it's mixed up really nicely. But you can see it's very different because now, while it's a little bit sticky, it's mostly formable. So now I can form it into a shape that I might want. Now I could just have it be a ball, so make a loaf of bread if I wanted to, but I could also make this into pizza dough. I could make this into cinnamon rolls, into some sort of pastry dough if I wanted to do like a shepherd's pie or something like that, and I wanted a pastry dough or a meat pie, have a dough at the bottom of my pan. Any of those things would work well. And as I'm working it, I'm just trying to make sure, because sometimes I feel like there's a little bit of hard flour still in there that hasn't quite absorbed yet. I am starting to smell the biscuits. That's good. This takes practice though. It does take practice to know how much water to put in, when to stop, and all that. So I, do this at home a few times. Grab yourself some cheap flour. So baking powder is the leavening agent. It's what makes the cooked product rise up. This is not a yeast dough. If it was a yeast dough, I'd have to let it sit for a long time to let it rise up. But this is not yeast. This is just a chemical reaction, not a living organism. So baking soda is a little bit of an acid and a little bit of a base. And when those two react together with water, then they create carbon dioxide, which is what makes the pockets and makes the dough. And that's what all cakes and muffins and things like that use. Now, what I can do is I can use my little platform here. And if I wanted to make a pizza dough, let's say, or maybe cinnamon rolls. Ooh, cinnamon rolls, that sounds nice. I'm just gonna use my fingers to kind of flatten it. Just trying to get it flattened out. I'm gonna go a little bit long ways. So now I've got a pretty thin dough. Now if I was gonna make cinnamon rolls or pesto rolls, I would spread the pesto on here, or spread the butter and the cinnamon on here, and then I would roll it up like this. And that gives you your Tootsie Roll. And then, if you have it, the ideal thing to do is to take floss, dental floss, wrap it around the outside, and like a little circle, pull it off, and it pinches it. I don't have that with me, so I'm just gonna do little cuts like this. But whenever you do cuts like that, you get a smushed roll, so you have to kind of reform it again. If I had a knife, it'd be a little bit better, but I don't. All right. Okay. got 4 little mini cinnamon rolls. Let's check on our biscuits. Oh, now we're talking. Here, come on over. You can see it's starting to get golden on there. Just a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Where the heat was stronger, you get a little bit more golden look to it, but we're getting little biscuits. So they rise up. Let's see how this one looks inside. Nice little biscuit there, all steamy, yummy. Put some butter on there. Again, you put butter in here, it's way better. So I strongly recommend you do that. All right, let's take these out. Whoa, bingo! There's a little bit of water on there too, it sounds like. That water is boiling. All right, so I got those in there. Put my lid on, my fancy dancy oven. If you haven't watched my other videos, what this does is it grabs the heat from underneath the stove under here, and then it moves it up along the sides and up to the top, and then it comes out of here. Ooh, warm, so nice. So we'll let that bake for 15 minutes. See how that comes out. All right, it's smelling good, so let's take a look. I think we're gonna be good, at least good enough. Let's take off the lid. This is all nice and hot. Ho, ho, ho. You can see they did get, I can smell they got a little burnt on the bottom. Oh, not bad at all. Look at that, just a little bit. And, but they have a nice little cinnamon roll look to them. And again, hey, the bottom of that pan is really hot right now. I didn't put any butter in here. There's no goodies in here or anything. Imagine what this would be like if it was, whew, that's hot. Imagine if this is what this would be like if it had cinnamon and butter and sugar in there, or pesto. Yum. So, all right, so that's the introduction to dough. A real runny batter, you can make pancakes. As you thicken it up, you can make into a cake, like a muffin or a cake or a brownie mix, something like that. A little bit more, and you can make yourself a little biscuit. And if you keep making it stiffer and less water to it, then you can even make doughs like pastries and pizzas and cinnamon rolls and all that kind of bread, any kind of bread. You can make this into a roll. You can, all kinds of options. So same exact dough, a little bit different amount of water, and you get a very different type of baked good out of it. So know your dough. All right, everybody. That's it for today, and eat well, take care, and come check us out at backcountrycuisine.net. Hit a like if you like what I'm doing. See ya.